Hello, fans of Two Men and a Scotch. Thank you for joining us this evening. You know, one thing I wanted to say before the episode started is that a lot of people talk, but very few people communicate. So tonight's episode is incredibly important. We talk about communication, active listening skills, and when are you truly heard when talking to the other party. So tune in, listen in, and thanks again for joining Two Men and a Scotch.
You're on.
Are we on?
Yep. All right, what are we drinking tonight?
All right, well, hang tight. All right.
Oh, hang tight.
Hang tight.
All right, take two. Go.
Good evening, everybody out there. Welcome back to Two Men and a Scotch, episode dose number 2. So, although we're Two Men and a Scotch, tonight we are drinking Weller, a special reserve Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. This was gifted to me recently for my birthday, and the person who gave it to me said, "While although very economic to purchase, it was incredibly smooth."
Were those the words you used?
No, no, not at all.
Thanks.
But we want to thank Weller for making a great Kentucky straight bourbon and whiskey. So although Two Men and a Scotch, whiskeys, bourbons, scotches, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We enjoy the
We're
drink.
going to try them all.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we're going to share it all with everybody.
Absolutely. Wait, are you feeling like one finger? That's just one finger tonight because we want to stay on topic. We want to thank everybody.
Don't put the top back on.
Okay, I'm going to put that back on.
Because we'll have to have
Absolutely. Absolutely.
more of a 5-finger guy. I'll leave it alone.
Jesus. All right. Cheers to you. Cheers to you. All right. Oh, that's smooth. Yeah, I like that a lot.
It's actually very nice.
Yeah, you know, for a Kentucky bourbon, you know, those Southerners know what they're doing. I'm privy to the Scottish drink, but, you know, at the same time, Weller, nice job.
Yeah.
Two Men and a Scotch, approve. So, to all of you who watched us last time, thank you for coming back. And to anybody new, we appreciate it. You know, as you know, Two Men and a Scotch, we talk about a lot of topics. Tonight, we have a few topics that we want to talk about really in terms of communication, perceptions, understandings. I had something incredibly interesting happen to me this week. I shared it with Bob. It was very curious to have an employee kind of go through an event that really led to something kind of explosive. And knowing that I'm the kind of guy who looks into everything, you know, I looked at it from both sides. What led up to it? How did it happen? And kind of what was the post portion of all of it? So to share the story, I manage a significant amount of employees, and one of my employees that's customer facing got a little bit upset when he was dealing with a customer that he completely thought it was going to take an hour to do this service.
Well, I think that's what the quote was,
yeah,
right?
that was the quote. Do an hour for the service.
Right.
Obviously, there were some delays, there were some challenges, and ultimately an explosion happened, if you will. And go figure, it got caught on video, which really makes it a lot of fun, right? But it was very, very challenging.
Which, to that point, everybody should be aware there's a lot of video going on nowadays.
Oh yeah.
And whether it's on a building, you know, or on the walls, or people's phones.
So you know, in the end, I get dispatched. I wasn't at
Beware.
that particular store, so I get dispatched to the store to go see what's going on. And what I find out is that I have a customer who is a little bit irate, right? And he's starting to get boisterous, and he's a younger person, and he starts to get loud, and he triggers my employee to somehow curse, to say, yeah, this is life. It's a busy effing place. And
away from me.
Yeah, and then the customer going, "Are you kidding me? This is stupid. You're being stupid." Completely sets off my employee, who goes off and says, "You know what? Get away from me. Get away from my desk. I have other customers to help. Get out!" Screaming at the top of the lungs. Explosion. So as one thing we know, and everybody who's probably listening knows, completely unacceptable from the customer service standpoint. But at the same time, so many topics from this, from people going, you know, perception of reality, communication, connectedness. So tonight, I know we said last time in the last show we wanted to really talk about kind of income and growth and all that, but I think it's going to be a future topic.
This is just something that came up, and as we were talking about it, you know, it's such an important thing, particularly now, because everybody is so removed from a lot of face-to-face. So, you know, communication is the root of pretty much all of the issues.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
And so we thought we'd just dissect it.
Yeah.
And because we've dealt with a lot of customer issues.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I started to think about this thing, it all starts in the beginning, right? Setting the foundation. Mm-hmm. And I don't care whether you're in the service side of things, sales side of things, doesn't matter. Communication, customer service is paramount in all things, whether it's face-to-face, on the phone, via text messaging, it doesn't matter. It's a paramount form of connecting with people and understanding them.
Yeah.
So,
and it's not only sales and service, but it's that, you know, it's the person. It's me even coming in for service or whatever. What are my expectations? How am I going to communicate to these people?
Yeah.
You know, and that's where a lot of the stuff, that's where the rub comes in.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously these two people didn't connect. And for me, part of the feeling is that I think before even the first word was spoken, there was a lack of connection between the two, right? Knowing my employee and the way he perceived people, he probably witnessed in this situation that it was some young kid. And as a young kid, not seeing them as equals, he probably sees this young man as somebody beneath him. And so we'll get into this a little bit further in the conversation.
Because he's young himself.
Correct, he is young himself. But he elevated, if you will, his status some way. So he's already, before even saying hello to the person, has put himself kind of above, probably already had some reservations, had some perceptions about it before the engagement ever happened. So one thing that I want to really hold true, one thing that I've held true for myself, is that when you're in a servitude mentality, we're all equals, but at the same time, I'm here to serve you, which means that for me, we've all heard the quote, customer is always right, but for me, they are always right. And we're not going to always connect. I mean, you and I have both been in a situation where I was the explosive one. Good friend of ours, something happened, and I was the explosion, and you had to calm it down. So I'm actually speaking not from a hypocritical standpoint and judging anybody, because I'm not so judgmental. I'm actually looking at it as, I was that guy.
Right.
I've been that guy. As you quote me, the punch in the face. I've been that guy. But let's really talk about it. Let's talk about perceptions, our reactions, and let's kind of go into it.
Yeah, I figure just from seeing it too, I mean, you know, as you told me about it, I already knew what happened because I've been in so many of those situations. But to break down the communication, I think the assessment is right. What you said is when he didn't see him as an equal, he didn't see him as, you know, some young kid with a car that's coming in to get some service done, which is totally the wrong way. You're right. It's an equal situation. I'm doing well and I'm here and I have a job because of you, number one. So be thankful for the people that are coming in. But, you know, what's that expectation? And I think that when the expectation didn't get met the first time, he asked for additional time. He asked for forgiveness and a little additional time. When that second time didn't hit, he changed into more of a defensive type person. And that's where he went wrong. And because the client's got a little right to get pissed off. I mean, it's 3 hours. It's an hour job. It's 3 hours.
And here's the thing, you know, we were either wrong. What happened to humility?
Right.
What happened to owning the problem? What happened to listen? I know what I told you.
Yeah.
And it wasn't out of malice that I'm wrong, but at the same time, I wronged you. I made a commitment.
Yeah.
I made a commitment. I missed it. You know, it's funny when I was a young employee doing the same job. I remember where I used to make commitments to customers. I would tell them I'd call you at 2 o'clock. If it was 2:01, the first thing I would say to you is, you know, listen, I made a commitment to call you at 2 o'clock. Yeah. It's 2:01 for that. I'm very sorry. what does every customer say? It's only a minute. You're not late. No. I'm a man of my word, and I made a commitment, and I've missed it. For that, I'm sorry. That means
your time.
To. But back to this guy,
which is hard to do. So, keep in mind, everybody, if you're going to commit to a time, man, make sure you hit that, because that immediately takes away your credibility with the client.
Let me really simplify this, and I'm going to simplify it on two sides of the perception here, right? Because everything's perspective, right? This young man saw it one way, my employee saw it one way, but in the end, customer's always right. Got to default to that, right? But I'm going to put it in a different level of perspective here. It's real simple. Follow through on your commitments. Do what you say you're going to do. Let's talk about customer service golden rules. Do what you say you're going to do. And not just do it, but how do you do it?
Right.
What do you think? How do you do it?
Well, here's a thing to add on that too. When it blows up, own it.
Own it.
I mean, if you don't, exactly what happened is going to happen.
Well, here's the thing. So when it happened to me, at some point, right, this is a emotion versus logic topic at this point, right? When you're getting emotional and you're kind of unwinding, at what point can your logic kick in and go, you know what? You and I are not seeing eye to eye on this, and I'm going to walk away from the situation because I respect you.
Right.
Right? When we start talking about the engagement of communication, we can simplify it all we want, but the complexity of empathy, sympathy, perception, your reaction, the reality, the psychology, the emotion to it, the logic behind it, everything in connectiveness. One thing that we know is that the spoken language is such a small portion of the communication. Like, I got to
body
perceive,
language.
it's everything, right? So in perception reaction, I mean, one of the things for me, when I looked at that scenario, and obviously I didn't witness it firsthand, but there was a video. What happened to empathy?
Right.
What happened to the world where we go, you know what? That person, I can't tell you how many of my employees go, that guy's a jerk. He's just looks like he's pissed off. And I go, how do you know what he's been through?
Right. What's his day been like?
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing, too, interesting thing, and you asked me a question, and I kind of jumped in on something else, so we can go back to that. But from watching the video, you could see their body language. I mean, and the kid was not aggressive. The kid was like, hey, you told me this. And you could see the employee stand up tall, step back, and just kind of, push into the space. And immediately as I'm watching it, I'm going, he's taking an aggressive stance in the whole thing, and he's gonna blow, which he did.
I'm surprised he didn't pull the kid across the counter, to be honest. When he was called stupid, and keep in mind, so I want to paint this picture, right? My employee is a lean, mean workout machine.
Right.
This young man was a very stick-like young man. So when we talk about threat in this case, just standing these guys side to side, my employee is the threat. He's the weapon, if you will, right?
Right.
But kind of going back to empathy, it reminds me of a story of a man who goes on a New York subway. And the man is completely distraught, bumping into people, sitting down, being very non-social. Another man looks and goes, hey, how you doing? Are you okay? What's going on? And he just doesn't say anything. And the other guy's like, Jesus, what a jerk. Like, just an absolute jerk. And then eventually another lady kind of sees the interaction and goes to the guy who's being really quiet and says to the guy going, hey, what's going on with you? And the guy who's being really quiet, kind of bumping into people, looks up and goes, I just lost my wife. And it kind of goes, all of a sudden the guy who's going, man, what a jerk he's being, all of a sudden immediately goes, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You're not a jerk, you're okay. Back to perception, back to empathy.
Right.
Walk a mile in that other person's shoes. So back to my employees who are always perceiving like, man, that guy's really a jerk. And I go, he's not a jerk, he's just misunderstood.
Right.
I've always said it to my employees, he's misunderstood. How much time did you spend trying to understand your client?
Right.
I don't care how they're dressed, how they're tattooed, what their sexual preferences are, how many tattoos or piercings, what their hairstyle is. Have you walked a mile in the other person's shoes?
Right.
And I'm a prime example. I have a sister who's tattooed from head to toe. Sweetheart of a girl, church every Sunday, loves her children dearly. But if you saw her walking down the street, what a freak, right? And I always call it my beautiful little freak, you know, but it's the same thing, right? It's beyond empathy. I think the number one lost thing, and this isn't just a business thing. I think this is a relationship thing. Let's talk about the art of listening.
Mm.
How many times? Yeah, exactly.
No,
how many times have you been in a conversation, even yourself, where somebody's talking and you're thinking about what you want to say?
Right. Which is what we do often. What's my response going to be? One of the things that I've always told the team is don't listen to what they say, listen to what they mean. But you really have to listen to your client to understand what they mean, because sometimes they can come off like a jerk or really pissed off, but but that's not who they are. They're actually saying something in that forcedness that they're portraying, and if you can dissect and listen to that and then present it back to them, it'll take them down a notch, and they'll go, yeah, or they'll go, no, I was meaning this, and so you get clarity in that conversation.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to set the stage for a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, two points on that, right? You've taught me something in my life, which I want to talk about. But the other part of it, in all my consulting business and in all my running businesses, the one thing I always said to somebody is, I always ask my employees or the people I'm coaching, why is it that somebody's yelling? And they're angry, they're mad. No. Why is it that somebody is yelling? And I go, every single time, it's because in their mind, they don't feel like they're being heard.
Right.
Why else should I yell? The number one thing that you taught me, it's an art, a skill form. And for those of you listening, this is something you should write down, because it has diffused so many situations for me. And it's just a real skill set in not only the art of listening, but the art of communication. Here's the quote. What I think I hear you saying is, the paraphrasing, the art of paraphrasing, to show that I'm an active listener, okay? For those of you who have not studied active listening, that's a show in itself, the art of active listening. Bob, what I hear you saying is
Do I have
this.
that correct? Yeah.
And the person's either going to react one to it, wow, yes, you get me, instant connection.
Right.
Guess what communication is about? Connecting.
Right. And oftentimes, too, you want to keep in mind when those people are loud because they want to be heard, how many times have they said it? I mean, you and I, in the positions that we've moved into, we're usually the recipients when they're on fire.
Oh yeah,
you know,
they're my favorite though.
Yeah, they're my favorite too. I do enjoy them.
Yeah.
But you know, how many times have they said the same thing over and over? How many times have they tried to convey it, and it's just, you know, people aren't listening, and they're doing that. That person's a jerk.
You know, it's funny is my employees will say things. My employees never call me angry, and I'm not an angry guy. I don't go around, I'm not a screamer, I'm not a yeller, right? But there are going to be moments where I'm tense, a lot going on, I'm hyper-focused, right? My team, who used to be able to come and ask me, why are you so angry? I'm never angry. I'm passionate.
Right.
I don't get angry. So I actually use that with people too, going, man, this situation has made you very passionate. Can you tell me about it? Because I'm interested in learning. Right. And it's almost like in just like 12 to 14 words, they immediately go, oh my God, you care.
Right.
How much? Here it is, like we're talking about this as men, as two men with our Scotch, or in this case, our bourbon, right?
Bourbon.
And here we are talking about how we understand customers and the business and how we're doing this. Imagine if we actually did it in our relationships.
Shit, isn't that the hard? Oh man.
Every woman listening right now is probably telling her, man, these guys know what the hell they're talking about.
I'm going to say cheers to the women.
Yeah, amen to that.
I will, because there's oftentimes that we think we know where they're going. And then we, I am, my bad. And so we, here's that word, assume.
Oh yeah.
And the next thing you know, we're running down this path and they're like, you never listened to me. And you're going, but you were saying,
All right. Well,
we didn't allow him to finish.
Here's the deal, right? We're not going to make this men and
We
women.
have to
This is not men. You know, Mars and Venus here. We have to get away from that because one, we're going to upset a few people.
I'm past Venus.
Let's be clear. Men were always wrong. Let's just own that, right? We're always wrong. And for you women listening, you guys are like, right now. Yeah. Okay, we're wrong. We're gonna own that, right? That's the shit I'm gonna own.
Well, we're gonna own the way our brains think, but you know that goes to the point of too. See Jim Jones through Jim Jones' eyes. Sell Jim Jones what Jim Jones buys. Now that doesn't always have to just happen for sales or service. That can happen in relationships. I mean, you got married for a reason. You're getting to know this other person.
By default, she was going to leave me if I didn't marry her.
To say, free no more! No. Cheers to that! Remember. But we know, you know, we need to understand their personalities. I mean, and their power, and we need to respect that. And that's where, I mean, I've failed in that, in relationships, just, you know, pre-thinking, ready to roll, because A-type personalities, and, you know, oftentimes you're not with an A-type, or sometimes they're A-type. I mean, women can bounce around in their brains. Men are pretty much in, like, I'm in this box now, okay, it's done. I'm in this box now.
Yeah, they
okay,
train it in psychology. We got to close the door before I can open one.
Right.
Women will open all the freaking doors.
Right.
Not to mention the door from 30 years ago that has Pandora's box of going, I'm sorry, what did I do then? This is interesting.
Which, you know, and this is not only good conversation for our relationships, because you deal with women in sales, you deal with women in service as well.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have chips on shoulders.
No, absolutely. I wrote down this quote, kind of going more down this communication path, and whether it's, once again, in business, with a boss, with a customer, in a relationship, man to man, woman to woman, whatever it is, communication is communication, right? It's universal. It doesn't care. But it's George Bernard Shaw that stated the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it's taken place. Because I said it, why didn't you do it?
Right.
Okay? And going back to my employee scenario, I can't play the video for the safety and security of the people involved, right? But one thing that was stated, that he stated in a very loud tone is, I told you that, blank. And the customer goes, but I made an appointment for blank.
Right.
And so real clearly it tells me that from the first, hi, my name is, you are, how may I help you? In the communication, I assumed you know how my business runs. Customer assumes that their own thing, right? In the absence of truth, the human will make shit up. So don't leave them in the absence of truth.
Right.
So we got to tell them, once again, doesn't matter. In the form of communication, I got to give you a roadmap. So currently in my consultant business, I'm teaching what I call the critical 5 layers of every engagement, right? To keep a loop closed, to make sure that there's nothing left to chance and nothing left uncommunicated.
Right.
And one of those steps that is so critical is, it's the second step actually, set clear expectations.
And make sure they're understood on both sides.
Absolutely.
Just because you've stated them and they're your expectations, it doesn't mean it's the mutual expectations. So you want to clarify that you're on the same page with everybody for sure on that.
So anybody who's watching this, if you've ever worked for a company where you've had a boss who says, listen, I need more from you, I expect better, and you go, okay, how can I improve? And they go,
Right.
I'm telling you, I just need more.
It needs to happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever worked for somebody like that?
You just go, you walk away from the meeting going, okay, he wants more or what? I don't even know.
I've been in this meeting where I looked and I go, I don't know if he knows what the fuck he wants.
Right.
If you don't know what you want, how am I supposed to deliver on the thing you don't know you want?
Right.
and this is a sidebar.
Maybe I need to have a hit off
Yeah.
of what you're smoking because I'm not on that wavelength. Yeah.
And then the sidebar to that, how am I supposed to care more than you?
Right.
If you're my boss, my
Now,
owner.
yeah, now we're moving into a different zone.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I got
That's
a
a
problem
sidebar.
with that. That's, you know, I mean, be clear, but again, just because you're an owner, just because you are the head of the whole company, doesn't mean you're freaking communicating properly. You can't walk around like you're the big cheese and not clearly communicate with your people. I mean, it's poor leadership, which I see a lot, and the people that are working so hard usually take the hit for it. I mean, you and I have ran the gauntlet for our people just to protect them from being wronged because the higher ups are thinking a certain way about a person when it's not the reality.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. When you're talking about leadership, you use the word gauntlet.
Yeah.
And the minute you do that, I mean, that's why this thing is so beautiful. When you and I talk, the ideas start to come right.
It's because we're beautiful.
Agreed. Cheers to that. Yeah.
Cheers.
You're beautiful. Back to the gauntlet, the Marine Corps. Part of your inception into the Marine Corps is to run the gauntlet. And one thing that the Marine sergeants are looking for is, what is every young person going in the Marine? I want to impress. And how do I impress? I'm going to be number one. So let's talk about being number one running through the gauntlet. If you're a young Marine and you run the gauntlet and you're the first one out and your entire squad, platoon, your crew
Still
behind
there.
you is still there, you failed being number one.
Right.
If you're in last place, you're actually going to be seen as tough because they're going to look at everybody else that went ahead of you going, why didn't you come back? They're looking for the people who run the gauntlet, start to sprint through, look back and go, man, my team's not with me.
Right.
Let me go
Let me go
back.
back and
Let
help
me
them.
give you a helping
Right.
hand. You and I have gotten to where we've gotten to because that's been our mentality. It's not been about us, our results, our financial gains, any of the freedoms. Hell, nobody who gets into management goes, man, I'm doing it for the big money because the headaches are so big.
Mhm.
There's a passion there, there's a love there. And I'm not trying to breach away from our real communication piece here.
Yeah, we're bouncing into a whole different.
Yeah, but we are and we aren't because it's still the art of connection.
Right.
So even though we started talking about the art of communication, let's talk about the true art of it. The art of communicating is connecting. I've watched a man, a good friend of mine, a guy that you know. I went to a restaurant. We were at like a Wendy's, a fast food restaurant. Like absolutely amazing. He and I are the only two in line, thinking about what we're about to order. All of a sudden, there's a lady that just happens to come in line. He literally looks over and goes, "You look like you're having a wonderful day today, and I'm really glad to see it." And immediately, she just opened up to him. Like
Nice.
the fact that he was able to connect with her. And I always told him, like, I don't know how you do it, but you build rapport in seconds.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And it's because he knows how to connect.
Right.
He either feels that connection or whatever, but in the case of his communication, it's not about him. So going back to the art of communication, it's about the recipient. It's about the other party. And again, it's not about talking or trying to overtalk or oversay. It's really trying to hear. And it's trying to understand. And most people with any level of success have read the seven steps of highly effective people, seven whatever.
You have to actually care about the person, though. You have to care that you have the opportunity. You have to see the blessing that you have somebody that you get to speak with and communicate with, and you have to see it as a blessing, and you have to like engage in that. You got to be thankful that that person is there, and you get to communicate. You get to have this conversation, because if it's treated as an irritant, it shows right away, and it starts to erode the conversation immediately. And once things derail, they're very hard to get that train. Well, that's where they end up back in offices with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And, my people always say, how is it that you like dealing with disgruntled people? How is it you can? Very few people are going to understand what I'm about to say. I know you understand it, but very few people will understand it. I love them.
Yes.
I love them as a person, and I think they're perfect the way they are. And they're not screaming at me, Brian, they're screaming at the situation. They really just need somebody to put their hand on their shoulder and go, this is going to be okay, and we're going to get to and paint that. What is that? What is that goal? The goal isn't necessarily an end destination. It's part of a journey. It's part of just a sense of understanding. You want to talk about connecting with people? You want to talk about connecting with people when you keep a business? Listen, there are plenty of people out there, ego-driven, that go, listen, I ain't got to connect. I love them. Are you kidding me? I'm just selling them this. I'm just selling them toilet paper. I'm just selling them nuts and bolts. Listen, when you understand the depth of what I'm talking about, you ain't selling them nuts and bolts. You're selling them yourself.
Right.
You're selling them loyalty to you, and not even the brand, not even the company.
You said that point that you love them, which is a great point, because oftentimes in my head, I say that as I see the person we're sitting down, my brain goes, you know what, I love you.
That's gay.
And then we start getting into it. Not really, because there's women too that you're but yeah, but it also, you know, communication. It reminds me to the other day, I was in an area that I wasn't too familiar with, and I thought that this one turn had its own lane. Turns out it didn't. and this person like was freaked out to the point of some serious road rage.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you know, fingers and yelling and screaming.
What happens when you're in a Bentley?
So, yeah, but I didn't hit her. So, you know, she's going down, and I was just like, you know, shit, damn it, you know, and I didn't, you know, it was my bad, right? So, and it's towards the end of the day, and I'm like, you know, I've just jacked this person up, and they go around this other corner, and they're just like, you know, and I go, and I turn, and I go to follow them, and I think that kind of freaked them out, because then she like pulls over, and I just pull up next to her, and I roll down the window, and I go, you know what? And she goes, you know, starts yelling at me, you motherfucker. And I go, yeah, you know what? I know, I got it. I go, that was my bad. I didn't understand it. I missed it. Want you to know I love you. I did not want to screw up your day. The moment I said that, she was like, well, thank you. And I go, I jacked it up. But
and you have a date with her when?
yeah, but you don't need to be upset, you know. I'm sorry. She goes, well, you know how many times that happens? I go, well, it probably happens quite a bit, because they think what I think. It goes into your own
life. See you
life.
at the same turn next week.
No,
so
yeah,
question.
Anyway.
How do you know when the other person's received the message? How do you know when you've been heard? How do you know that they understand you? And here's the deal, back to logic versus emotion. I mean, how do you
want
know?
to clarify that?
Yeah.
That's all through clarity. So we have an understanding of, so, you know, at the end of the conversation, it's, for me anyway, at the end of the conversation, it's okay, well, here's what we understand, here's what the situation was, here's what we're going to do, and here's the time frame that I'm going to get back to you. And again, it goes back to that. I'm going to call you on this day, morning, or whatever, and make sure that you adhere to that time frame that you set up, because that's an expectation. But and you want that other person to go, yeah, that's right, or and they'll add in extras if they need to. This will probably happen with your wife too, wouldn't it?
Oh, probably. You know, we're
business-wise, you always want a pad.
Yeah.
In my mind, I always like to write things down and write my points down.
Oh yeah, I got my.
I think
everybody calls it.
important.
Everybody calls it my Bible, my leather-bound book. And
I think it's very important, and I think it's important for the person too, because when they're speaking and you're writing points, again, it goes back to, I'm going to take some notes, Brian, while we're doing this. Is that all right with you?
Absolutely. And communicating the fact, may I take notes?
Yes.
Are you comfortable with me taking notes?
Right.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And what is that doing? And it brings up another point. In communication, I'm empowering you.
Right.
It's no different, and once again, we go on a little bit of tangents, but all these pieces connect. Like if I'm meeting you for the first time and I'm shaking your hand, and granted, right now during COVID-19, nobody's shaking hands, right?
Right.
But back when the art of the handshake, when I'm shaking your hand, I put my hand underneath because I'm giving you the power.
Right.
And it's not that I don't have power. I actually have the power because I'm giving up the power to you. I'm allowing you to feel like you're in control.
Right.
Going back to kind of management styles, and I'm sorry, I know a lot of times we talk about management because Bob and I have managed a lot of people in our days. And whether I'm a manager by title, I'm not even a manager, really, right? We're leaders, right? I hate that. There's a big difference between leadership and management. But by title, we all manage something. Whether I'm managing my own workload or I'm managing a team or I'm managing a whole company, doesn't matter. We're all managers in some sense, right? But in the management side of things, and kind of going back to the funny point we're making, you ever been in the meeting where they're like, you need to do better. Okay, cool. What do I need to do better on? I don't know. I just expect more, right? And here it makes perfectly sense. Remember, crazy people think they're sane. Illogical people think they're speaking logically.
Right.
It's back to perception. And sometimes you just got to go, okay, I get it, I understand. See you tomorrow.
But that's where the reiterating back to them. So what I'm hearing you say, So what I'm hearing you say is, and oftentimes, once you lay that out and repeat it to a customer, or even a person that's not a customer, even in communication, oftentimes they'll go, sounds like I'm kind of being a dick. I don't want to be a dick. That's not really what I meant. What I meant was, and clarity starts to come out.
Do you remember back in your day, okay, because I'm far younger than you, back in your day, salespeople, don't do that. Back in your day, salespeople used to have mirrors behind them. Do you remember this?
So the clients could see themselves.
So the clients could see themselves, and nobody ever wanted to see themselves belligerent or ugly because it was ugly, right? So, but on the sidebar where I was going kind of on the management side, how many times have you as an employee, or even as a manager where you have a superior above you, they go, this is what I want. They just tell you what the what is.
Right.
I need you to hit these numbers.
Right.
And you're like, okay. And we hit the most superficial layer, right, of what. And this is kind of, while this is communication specifically in regards to engagement and expecting a certain level of behavior.
We're sidebarring here now.
Yeah, we are sidebarring. Okay. And that's what happens when you're 3 figures in. The layer of what?
Are you saying you're kind of a...
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm not a lightweight. Yet.
You are from Alabama.
Oh, shut up. Get to the what, the next layer becomes the how, and then the most important layer becomes the why, right? I can tell you what to do. I can show you how to do it, but if I can get you to understand. And so I know we're saying we're sidebarring, but if you want to talk about the true art of empathy, true art of communication, is understand their why.
Right.
What is their driving force? Me being angry has a driving force. What did not hit in alignment? Customer service is simple. Customer service is really simple this day and age. I don't care who you are. If you have ever made the statement that customer service is hard or people suck, you need to take a moment and reflect and meditate on this. Okay? Customer service is easy. Bad service is everywhere.
Right.
So a customer's expectation that used to be this big has shrunken to a dime size. If your customer service delivery is a quarter size or bigger, how easy to align to an expectation?
Right. And this is where I get, these customer satisfaction indexes.
My favorite.
This is where, well, that person's an asshole. She's a bitch. This is where these terms.
We're paraphrasing.
This is where this stuff comes up because it's assumed they aren't understanding what the hell is really going on in the conversation. And a lot of times with big companies, they don't have the ability to take care of you. So it's really, to me, it's very, very superficial and stupid to even have a lot of these people on these call centers and such, because I'm very clear when I need service or I need help from somebody. Look, here's the situation, here's what's going on, this is what I need to happen.
Yeah, and you know what I don't need to hear? Don't tell me why you can't.
Right.
I don't care about your restrictions.
Right. And if you can't...
It's your fucking problem, not mine.
Right.
Fix my shit.
And if you can't, you do need to tell me, you know what? I can't do that. All right, that's fine. Give me the highest ranking officer on the ship. That's who I want to talk to. You know, and it's funny because I just went through a situation with a phone company, and a situation happened on the bill, and I'm like, well, this is wrong. This is what happened, and so it shouldn't be this.
You call those sex lines again?
Just a couple times. Actually, they were calling me.
Oh.
It's a side hustle. We'll put the number at the bottom of the screen.
Buccaneers.
Oh boy, where's your Buccaneers? Your Buccaneer. But when I called in, the person on the line they couldn't do anything. And this person, I felt so sorry for him. All I could say was, I can't do anything, but you won't hold this against me, will you? Because you knew there was going to be a survey. And I was like, dude, if you can't do what I need done, that's okay. You just got to tell me. I'm good with that. I'm not going to burn you because of it. But to me, that's an asinine thing for the company to do.
Yeah.
Particularly have a call center that can't help you to tell me that I need to go into the store. And then you go into the store and they're like, well,
Did you call the call center?
did you call the call? Exactly. And I'm like, oh my God. You know, this is just ridiculous.
Which way should we go?
Right. But, you know, here's these big corporations making billions of dollars treating you like nothing.
Yeah.
They don't really care about how long you've been with them. They don't care, you know, how much money you've spent with them. And that's some of the stuff that you and I have dealt with. Look, I've spent this much money. I've been this customer for this long. You know what? For me, if I'm dealing with that type of a situation, I don't care if it's the first time I've seen you. I don't care what year, vehicle in this particular instance we're dealing with. You're a customer, you got an issue, let me help you.
Yeah, how many times did a customer go, you know, it was my first visit, or
Right.
they'll point out I've been here for 15 years.
Right.
And I always tell, you know, whether you've been here 15 years or it's your first time,
Doesn't
I'm
matter.
honestly going to value you the same, because in my mind, you're already at the highest value. You
Right.
can't have a higher value. And there's no real lower value for me. It's always been an even playing field. And that goes whether I'm in my position, right? I don't care if I'm a director and I'm the top of the spear. My picture is not a hierarchy. My pictures are a level playing field.
Right.
We all just playing different roles here. And for me, for my customers, all my customers are your level. You're all of the highest value.
Right.
All your money spends the same if I was looking at you as a dollar sign, but I'm not.
And it's not even the customer for communication. It goes back to the person you were with that turned and said, hey, it looks like you're having a really great day. I mean, that made that person's day. And so even the people, if you're dealing with a drive-through or whatever, do whatever you can to make their day. It's amazing how empathy and respect and giving love to somebody in a conversation opens them up and actually gives you more than you even want.
Well, let's go into the next topic, which are, let's talk about some top issues in communication. And I think there's some people that are probably listening right now that are going to be like, oh yeah, I can tell you, it's always them. Yeah, it's not. So I know this is really hard to believe because I'm from Alabama, but I read a lot.
Whoa!
I'm actually literate.
They're big words.
Yeah.
One
very
word
big
per
words.
page.
I happen to be reading a book from Ryan Holiday called Ego is the Enemy. If you've read it, it's fantastic. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it, right? And that's a big one, right? In communication, ego becomes this huge issue. Ego and attitude, and they're kind of somewhat derivatives of each other. But in the sense of ego, I need to be heard, I need to be right, already makes you wrong. So again, one of my quotes, and I may have said it in our last podcast, but I'm gonna say it again. In the pursuit of being right, you can make yourself wrong.
Right.
It's the number one thing I teach in customer service. Well, sir, you need to understand that you're already wrong.
Yeah.
The minute I have to tell you what's on page 37 of my policy and procedures manual,
Right.
I'm already wrong in trying to tell you, versus going, please, sir, tell me how it is that you feel about the situation.
Right.
Or, please, sir, tell me, and I keep saying sir, ma'am, right? I don't want to be sexist. Please tell me what would make the situation right for you.
Right. So what I hear you saying is, bing, 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 bing. What's the best way that I can answer this for you? And oftentimes, even if you can't do everything for the person, we're talking service end now, again, back into that with clients, but, tell me, Brian, exactly what you'd like to have happen. If I can do that, I will deliver just that. If I can't, I'm gonna tell you I can't, but then I'm gonna tell you what I can do. Does that sound fair?
Absolutely.
I mean, if you present things, you're listening to the client, you want to hit their goal, but if you can't hit their goal, you've said to them, I'm going to present to you what I can do. I'm going to tell you I can't, but I'm going to let you know what I can. So you've set the expectation.
Yeah, and going back to this engagement between my employee and the customer,
Right.
Ego and attitude was a huge thing.
True. Yeah.
Okay? Pardon my language, my employee was saying, my cock's bigger than your cock, and I'm about to tell you why. And that's really what happened.
Yeah, the feathers were definitely
It became a
out.
cockfight. And I didn't need that, right?
Right.
He needed to have some humility, he needed to put his attitude in check, and he needed to say, you know what?
I
I told
screwed
you
up.
something and I didn't hit
It
it.
didn't happen.
So ego is huge. And ego, going back to humility, ego and humility do not live in the same space.
Right. Well, see, and that's where he went into the defensive mode because he didn't want to be wrong.
You know, it's kind of like a liar. Do you know a liar?
Yes, I do.
It's kind of like a liar
I know.
who tells a lie to cover his lie, and then his lies get so
Right.
deep that he's forgotten what the truth is.
Oh, what a tangled web
And
we're
now
in.
he has to make, at some point, he's got to make the inevitable, what I call grand lie,
Right.
so I can get out of it. And grand lie, when I talk about the grand lie, it's so grandiose that if it was a money
You
lie,
guys, we're talking about somebody. They are good, I gotta say.
I have to make a grand lie that I'm either going to have to kill myself off to
Right.
get out of.
Right.
Something massive is going to have to happen.
Right.
The pandemic killed off my accountant who died with my money.
Right.
Something is going to have happen. But
Right.
ego, attitude, same thing, right? My ego, I'm never going to be able to admit I'm wrong, just like a liar is never going to have to admit that he's wrong. And so it's
Right.
kind of the same thing, both ego-driven things. So ego and attitude become a massive thing. And I've always had the attitude, going back to attitude, speaking in terms of customers always right, I've always had that attitude. I've always had the level of humility. Well, I say it. Okay, now see, I'm a liar. I had to grow into it. I had to recognize.
I was just going to
that
say,
I
there's
did.
a lot of learned conversations.
Yeah, you want to talk about
Oh,
something?
But you hit a point too. You're reading a book now, and
You read too?
I can read too. But yeah, so I've got a few going as well. But there's a lot of great information out there from people that have experienced life in communication lanes, and they've shared it in books, and it's good stuff. And even a good practice, and I go back as I'm saying a lot of this, there's a lot of things reeling in my mind of like, you screwed up there, you screwed up here, but there's a lot of practice you can do in a mirror too.
Absolutely.
And it teaches you a lot. Like you talked about the mirrors behind you for the customer. I gave all my team mirrors on their computers by their phones, so when they were on the phone they could see themselves, because it changes how you speak to somebody.
Yeah, and when you're practicing in the mirror, because I did this is for some of my pitches that I needed to do.
Right.
Look yourself in the eyes. It is the most
Oh,
uncomfortable
yeah,
thing in the
it
world.
is very
And,
uncomfortable.
but if it's
Were you
uncomfortable
wearing the
now,
earrings?
no.
Okay.
If you're uncomfortable then, guess how comfortable you get in front of the customer.
Right.
You've already gone to the most uncomfortable
Right.
thing in the world. All right, so to stay on track.
Yeah.
Next point, ego and attitude. We talked about teamwork is determined at times by one member's attitude.
Mhm.
How many times has that one pissed off employee
Right.
changed the mood of everybody around you?
Right.
And for the
Okay.
pissed off person,
And
right.
not only, I'm going to segue that into even a family situation, or a friendship situation. I mean, think about it. That one person's attitude can affect everybody and change the outcome.
And both positive and negative, right?
Mhm.
Who's going to be the alpha? Which one overpowers the other? And I always believe that positive energy is going to always trump the negative. But so many businesses allow the negative, that one cancer,
Right.
right? then stems into somebody else and stems into somebody else.
Right.
And of course, in management, we always say the easiest thing to do is cut out the cancer. But I never really called it a cancer. What I called it was the phantom complainer. And when I killed that person off, let's say they quit, the phantom sucks out, hovers around, finds the next person, and it comes down. That's why I always called it the phantom, the phantom negative person, right? Because it just always lingers. The one guy was more powerful than the other guy, but when he goes away, all of a sudden this person goes, I'm empowered.
There's a void that somebody.
Can you believe what Susie did yesterday, talking to that other guy? What a slut! Whatever it is, right? Or can you believe that they're making yet a 15th policy change in 3 days because of a pandemic? Yeah, I do believe it actually.
Right.
You know the level of courage it takes, lack of ego, spiritual driven courage it takes to go, I hear what you're saying, but it really sounds destructive. Ever thought about presenting it constructively and giving me a solution?
Right.
That's what I do in my management sense. Don't come to me destructively. Come to me constructively. I'll hear your complaints. If you're coming to my office and you're going to say, hey, I really just need to bitch right now. Cool.
Perfect.
I'm going to pull my hat off of where I usually coach. Let me have it.
Bring it.
Safe zone.
Right.
But if you're going to come to me and go, I can't believe that this is happening. Okay, cool. Tell me more. Tell me your perceptions. Walk me through this thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever thought about it this way? And it's amazing. How many times have you been there in management where you're like, have you ever thought about it this way? And they go, huh. Like almost immediately derail.
Yeah. But you know what? What's wonderful about that too is you see the light bulbs come on and they've learned something and they'll carry that forever.
And hopefully teach somebody.
Right. I mean, I've always told the team, you can come in, if I make a decision in a situation, if it comes to me, the situation's hot, comes to me and I make the decision, it doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not, you just need to do it. Once everything's done, client's gone, things are down, you can come in and MF me up one side and down the other. I don't care. Just at the very end of it, and you hit the point, you need to tell me what I should have done.
Listen, I know you were talking, but I was paying attention to my watch.
Yeah.
Oh, that leads me to my next point.
Oh, shit.
Passive listening.
I'm going to drink.
Passive listening.
What?
Yeah. My wife learned one thing, and she tells it to the kids.
Only one?
Oh, no, the list is long. Long and distinguished, like mine. Anyway.
I can remember.
My wife says, kids, if Dad's not looking you in the eyes, he doesn't hear a word you're saying.
Yes.
Right? So passive listening. In this world, even worse, right? Cell phones, emails, calls.
Right.
Even while you and I are talking, my mind could be, oh shoot, I got to do this, and tomorrow. And so I'm passively listening. Going back to, how do we know they're listening? How do we know they're communicating? How do I know I'm connected?
Yeah,
how do I know I'm engaged?
You got a million thoughts.
How do you change your body posturing?
Right.
Now I have your attention.
Right.
And so much that goes into it. So we talk about the body. I mean, literally, you and I could give a week-long course and only skim the surface of the art of communication.
Should be fun too.
So we're really paraphrasing.
Anybody wants that, by the way, that'll be fun to do.
Absolutely.
I'd love to do it. So how do they get a hold of us?
They're going to get a hold of us at info@beardenandcompany.com, and I will post that on the bottom.
Okay, cool.
That way they can get a hold of you and I. And communicate. Also, at the bottom of the video, there's plenty of comments. Listen, you hate us? Cool. Guess what? We're not ego-driven. You're not going to hurt our feelings because I don't give anybody permission. You love us? Cool. Let us know. Share with your friends.
Yeah, we're good either way.
Okay.
We're going to learn either way.
Yeah, we're going to learn either way. I mean, because in the end, we're two guys, just so we're clear, we've had these conversations almost daily, and we just decided to record them. But I would really tell you that I think we said this, between the two of us, 63 years of experience, and I bring 20. And so there's a lot to be learned here. So please, don't hesitate to reach out to us. So passive listening. We're in a world of distraction. And so sometimes it's hard to communicate. Listen, in a world of TikTok where I get to keep your attention for 30 seconds, what happened when I used to go to 8-hour lectures. And that person would gravitate me for 8 hours. And now I can't keep a kid to listen more than a 30-second video. I almost feel, it goes back to our original episode 1, which was we had these two young men I can't bring to the same room. I can't grab their attention together. So what do I got to do? I got to find different forms of communication, but I got to get the distractions out. I got to get all the other stuff out. I got to be able to just connect and communicate, right?
Well, and you hit a good thing too, like what your wife said, if your dad's not looking you in the eyes, he's not listening to you. And when we talked about the mirror and role playing with yourself and how uncomfortable that is, it's scary how many people are uncomfortable when you're looking them in the eye when you're talking. And you can visibly see them having some issues with it.
I had an employee go, "You're looking too deep into my soul."
Right.
I go, "Well, I'm just watching because once again, I learned the art of body language, so I know when you're telling me the truth or not.
Yeah.
I also know when I have your attention. Okay, I can tell your eyes are glazing. I can tell when they're drifting or looking or distracting. And I've told employees, you're obviously not in a position to listen to me. I have a world of knowledge that can change your entire life, but you're not interested. So if you're ready to go, there's the door, because I'm going to waste my time. I got no time. Right? We're too busy and life's too short. I want to put my time into those people who are deserved. And how many people, you and I both that have coached and mentored that have come back to us 1 year, 10 years later down the road going, you changed my life.
Right.
You taught me. Then many employees go, "Brian, I don't know if you remember, but you told me," and of course I don't remember because, I engage, I communicate, I move.
Just like,
I'm from Alabama and I drink a lot of whiskey. But they go, "You told me that and it changed my life." And while it's a feel-good thing, it's not even an ego feel-good thing, it's a spiritual feel-good thing, because all I'm trying to do is teach, grow, and personally even learn. I'm far from where I want to be.
Yeah. I always tell them though too that, no, I just passed along something to you, but you actually changed you.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the love, definitely, because you've changed, you've assisted in somebody's growth in their life, and that's pretty cool.
All right, so we're gonna have to wrap this up because we could spend another few hours on this topic, but
we haven't even hit enough of the bottle yet.
I feel like I've hit enough of the bottle.
Oh, you're from Alabama. Sorry, from Alabama. It's okay. I'm just
Roll Tide or War Eagle if you're another. Here's the thing. One thing that is universally psychologically true for every human: emotion and logic are inversely proportionate and do not live in the same zone. Mm-hmm. You cannot be highly emotional and highly logical. You can argue with me all you want, but imagine every time that you're angry, blinded with rage, are you logically thinking about the gun in your hand and the person you're about to shoot? You're not. It's inversely proportionate. Same thing with the employee incident that happened a couple of days ago. His emotion took so far over. Do you think logically he goes, "I'm going to scream and rip the face off of this young man, prove myself right"? Because logically he's going to go, "Wait a minute, my tone's far too elevated. I'm far too puffed out.
Yeah.
You called me stupid. How dare you call me stupid? You're stupid. Fuck, I'm all stupid. We're all stupid around here." Here's the deal.
What I really appreciate was, we're fucking busy here. I'm like, dude, really? Okay.
I'm working here.
Yeah, sorry, I segued you, but that really made me laugh. That was good.
But on the sidebar, we're stepping into a level of emotional intelligence. So a few key points that we hit on today that we really want to talk about. Things that people really, really should study. Art of communication, art of listening. Okay, those kind of go together, right? Emotional intelligence. It's kind of become mainstream, but in psychology and even in personal growth, that's a big one. It's okay to be emotional when emotion's in control, right? Emotion's what drives us, emotion's what color us, but emotion is also that thing that can easily pull you out of control, right? How many times have you believed in something so much, right? How many people have paid, televangelists all of their money because it's going to get me to heaven because I got so passionate and the emotion drove me, right? Emotion is a driver, but it can't be in the seat by itself. It's got to be driven with logic. You got to find balance in logic and emotion. How many times have highly logical people been so cold that, well, we have 100 employees and 60 of them need to go now? And I know that touches real close to home right now because we're in the middle of a pandemic. Mm-hmm. But that highly logical person who isn't in the trenches with no emotional connection goes, 60 go now, that's it.
Right.
And that's 60 lives, 60 families, 60 people's children
Yeah.
that go.
And take that 60 times what?
Yeah.
Because you're right. How many people does it affect?
Yeah. And so in the end, you got to be careful and find balance. So, and when I say balance, balance isn't a true straight line. It's harmonic. Okay, there's a harmonic balance to life in financial, emotional, logical, business, success, all of it. Personal health and fitness, all of it's harmonic. You're going to have days that you're heavier, but financially, you're stable. You may be financially low, but your health is super high. There's a harmonic balance, and what's beautiful about the human condition is no one person is going to be necessarily the same as anybody else. Our harmonies are different.
Right.
Right? You know, I once lost 80 pounds to get myself in harmony. I once was bankrupt and had to really get focused on my personal growth to become more successful, to put myself in harmony. And everybody's different. You know, whether it's I want to be a millionaire or I just need to make enough to feed my family and have a nice bourbon every now and again.
Right.
Might be enough too.
Yeah. Enjoy the but if you enjoy what you're doing and you enjoy the process, all that will come.
It's the end, right?
And you may win it, you may lose it, but it's all going to come.
Listen, life has seasons, everybody. Yeah. There's going to be winter.
Rhythm.
There's going to be times where you don't enjoy what you do, but you realize you have to do it. Stay focused on those things that grow. You know, bottom line is the one thing I know about humans is that as long as you're growing, you understand you're not dying. And so whether that means that you're needing to read to personally grow your mind, whether that means you're going to work out to grow your body, whether it means you're listening to a podcast for two guys who really don't know any better, we've just been through a different walks of life, doesn't matter. Understand that life has seasons, and winter eventually turns into spring and summer. So, and it's always darkest before it's dawn. It's never so bad that it isn't going to be good. And what did I just tell you the other day? You need to embrace sometimes the bad, because it's the only way you're ever going to know what good is. Right. Because if there was no bad, there is no good. Yeah. You just would be.
Yeah, learn from it. Earn the badge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Earn the badge, grow from it. So what I hear you saying is, we're all great.
Bob
we can all overcome.
Brian Bearden, 2 men and a Scotch. We appreciate it.
Cheers to you guys.
God bless.